Do you ever miss straight-in shots because you're adding unintentional side spin? Well, the problem could simply be the wrong eye alignment. You've got to understand that each of your eyes is receiving a slightly different 2D image, and your brain is putting those two images together so that you can see in 3D. But maybe one eye is more dominant, maybe one eye is stronger, or maybe your head is tilted when you're over the cue. And all of this could be the reason that you're assuming you're hitting the center of the cue ball, but instead you're adding unintentional side spin. And the solution could be that you're simply using the wrong eye alignment.
But what is the eye alignment? First of all, of course, you can have your cue exactly under your chin, but it's also possible to have a bit of an offset, to have your right eye over the cue or your left eye or somewhere in between. So today I'm going to guide you through how you can find your perfect eye alignment. But before we're going to do that, we're doing the dominant eye test together.
Let's determine which eye you favor when aiming. First of all, look for an object that is far away in the room. We're taking the subscriber counter here, which by the way goes up if you subscribe. Now form a triangle with your hands and focus that object. Now close your right eye. If the object stays in the triangle, you are looking at the object with your left eye, so your left eye dominant. If the object shifts, however, you are looking at the object with your right eye and your right eye dominant.
Not everyone is able to close each eye individually. For example, I'm only able to close my right eye. So what you could also do is, I'm focusing the camera and I'm just, you can see it here, doing it like this. This of course also works. But what do we do with this information now? Now you figured out that you're maybe left or right eye dominant. And I remember the times when I was still a beginner about 10 years ago. There was a guy in my pool hall, we did the dominant eye test together, and afterwards he told me, well, you're left eye dominant, now put your cue exactly under your left eye, and that's how you should look at the shots. Well, we just learned it's not that easy. We have the brain that puts the images together, we have our head tilted, one eye is stronger, one eye is weaker. But we have a tendency, of course, if we're left eye dominant, to have it a bit more to the left, or if we're right eye dominant, vice versa. But don't worry, I have a very nice way to help you find your true eye alignment. Let's put something like this on the table where we set up a straight-in shot. And very important, the tip of the cue has to be dead center at the cue ball. That's very important. Alright, now we should have a straight line from the heart of the pocket to the center of the 9-ball, center of the cue ball to the tip of our cue. And what I want you to do now is just go down over the cue and pretend like you're shooting the ball. I'm doing it like this because it's easier to explain that way. And start with your chin exactly over the cue, and then try to experiment a bit, go out to the left, to the right. If you're too far on the left, then it looks for you like you're putting a bit of left spin on the cue ball. If you're too far to the right, then it looks to you like you're putting right spin on the cue ball. So shift over until you feel it looks right for you. For me, the center looks a bit like left spin, so I'm going a bit outside to the right. Now it looks right. I'm checking on the cue ball. I'm checking if the shot itself looks straight, and I think this is my real eye alignment. And when you're playing the shot, it should look something like this. We're standing behind the shot, then all we have to do is step into the shot. Remember, my left eye is exactly over the cue as we just saw, and check between the cue ball to see if you're at the center of the cue ball and the 9-ball, to see if you're aiming straight. Once you're ready, do your pre-strokes, and then a very smooth backswing and push the cue forwards in a straight line.
The interesting thing here is that on the camera it looks like I'm putting left spin on the cue ball, but this is the problem with camera lenses. Remember, I'm having my left eye over the cue because this is my eye alignment because of my dominant eye, my head position and so on. But the camera lens doesn't have that problem. So if you're stopping on impact, you can see it still looks like left spin, but have a look at the cue ball's reaction. It even has a tiny bit of right spin on it. So the camera lens was just tricking here. Let me show you another way how you can find and control if you're hitting through center.
You probably know this drill or exercise where you're putting the cue ball perfectly towards here on the table, and your goal is to hit straight into the rail without any spin on the cue ball. This means you're hitting center and the cue ball should come back to the tip of your cue if you had no spin on the cue ball. So let's have a look what happens here. Perfect. Alright guys, let's have a look from this perspective now. And again, just as in our example, the cue ball is perfectly at the center of the table. So I'm going to use my cue and trying to aim to the center of the cue ball. And now you should already see that we're a bit to the left and here we're a bit to the right. But how are we seeing it? Can you actually see this light streak here up on the cue ball? And this is caused, if I put my hand over it, it disappears. This is caused by the lights that are over my pool table, and every pool table should have lights, in the best case of course perfectly centered over the table. So if you're practicing this, you can actually use the light on the cue ball to see if you're a bit to the left or to the right. So this is just a reference for you to find the true center, and in my opinion this is a really clever trick. By the way, very important, this maybe isn't the main reason that you're having those problems. Maybe your stance is wrong and your arm is not cueing straight or stuff like that. So it's not the magic key for a straight stroke, of course. But the big question now is, what do you do with this information now that you've found your right eye alignment? Well, the good news is, if you're still a beginner, just use the right eye alignment from now on and everything's fine. However, if you're a more experienced player, then there are some questions you have to ask yourself. First of all, are you able to hit dead center on the cue ball consistently? Are you able to make straightened shots consistently? Or maybe are you missing always to a certain side? It depends. If you're happy with how it is, then I wouldn't change anything. But if you're saying you're constantly missing, there's always spin on the cue ball, then maybe give the right eye alignment or the new eye alignment a try. But I'm not just talking about a couple of hours, because of course you will first take a step back because your brain has all the information from the wrong eye alignment saved in your muscle memory, in your brain. So you are used to seeing the shots wrong, but you're just adjusting to make them. So if you want to give it a try, do it a couple of days, even a couple of weeks, and if not, then just change back to how it was.
And now you should definitely watch this lesson and subscribe to my channel.